stylus, and they also had a bit of software called graffiti. Graffiti. You had to learn certain, motions.
This thing's up 50%.
Well,
it
Full blast.
instead of writing a T, you'd write like kind of a backwards L, kind of. Yeah.
Let me see here.
No, I love that. And what I really like is somebody to come out with a story.
Very hard to disambiguate. That was the problem. Things like a T looked like other letters to the computer. They just couldn't figure out. So he said, instead of having you...
This is band number 2. Band number 1. Whoops, band number 1. No, I'm on band number 1. 2, 3, 4. Where am I? I can't see it.
To gambling or whatever, someone else does that.
Anyways,
Where it's legal. And
got this hooked up.
you just know.
Now if I have this volume at 50%, I'll take it down to what?
Given,
No,
it's just, the fact that Pete Rose is the only one that really.
I disconnected this 1 meg. Now I'll hook up to here.
You know, a lot of players bet, and a lot of coaches have bet, and a lot of managers have bet. Know that.
I got tons of power at the control grid,
That's why.
and I'm gonna cut this capacitor out here. But here's I made this thing here up. I'm gonna solder in here. See, I have that oscillation problem. Put it on continuous wave. So what I noticed here, I just got this, so I want to write voltages down and stuff, so I want to photocopy this, but if you follow back on this control grid, that is not, that's a connection, that's a passover. Okay, it shows shielded cable towards this control grid of the 6SC7. 100K at 270 picofarads, which I believe is a, what do they call them, mica capacitor. Shielded cable on this side. It doesn't show any evidence of shielded cable on this side. Control grid of the 6SK7. So at the 6SK7 side, I'm going to put that gimmick thing I made in. I remember those when I was a kid, but I got to try to isolate this oscillation. When I first got this thing, the oscillation, this tube here, The plate voltage, I don't know what it is. I think it's like 2 1/4, could be 175. It's not a hell of a lot. But when I had my digital hooked up to it, it would go up and exceed my meter with the when I pulled the tube out. Tube in, it would say whatever. Let's just say it was 125. It'd say 125. When I pull the tube, it would exceed my meter. So I figured there was silver mica disease in this one or that one. I just tried for crackling. I didn't hear any, really. So this thing has this thing here. 6SA7. And other issues I have are like all these. Wait, let me start over. All these control grids. They're all tied together. Now this one here goes up for your automatic gain control bit. Here's a 0.047. I seen that there because I looked for it to make sure there's a bypass. So that obviously control grid bypass, that does exist. And then this comes up to this ABC switch. So when the switch is closed, it has 150 ohms, and that does this. It just weakens it a little bit. I noticed a lot of things are incorrect with this. Like this says 270 ohms, 1 watt. I'm not concerned about that. This is the capacitor I'm going to snip out here in a second. Yellow jacket somebody put in. I just want to see if it's leakage, if I get my volume back. But this resistor is 470 ohms that's in there, and it gained to 500 ohms, so that could be my power issue. 470K, that's correct. Gained a little bit of value, but I'm concerned about this output transformer being shorted turns here or something. This has a 500 ohm for running long distance and using a step-down transformer, I would assume. So this thing here, when I kick that in, it just oscillates on continuous way. So I'm gonna just a second here. I will switch avenues. I'll get my wire cutters right now and snip this capacitor out here real quick. I'll just shut it off. Snip it. I noticed one time where I wasn't expecting a lot of voltage in a guitar amplifier, and I snipped, or I touched something there, and I didn't realize guitar amplifiers had that much nastiness on the plate. Above and beyond the B+ voltage. So we'll put up one click where I just had it. That's eliminated.
Call now for this free book on for baby boomers.
Okay, this resistor here, that's the one that reads 500 ohms. It's supposed to be with 270. I'll see how hot the tube is. Well, usually 6V6s, 6K6s run really, really hot. This 1 meg I cut off a long time ago. It's not even on the schematic.
Calling Henry 7159880.
So it does absolutely nothing with my power. This thing here went from the plate from the 6CS7, 6 whatever it is, that dual triode thing with the shared cathode. This went from one plate here to the plate of the audio output. So my next step will be disconnect that blue wire, clean stuff, probably get rid of this one. That looks like a 0.022, I think. It's for the tonal, so that's no big deal. I'm interested in getting more power here. And okay, on this thing here, I'm going to put this in here. It's supposed to be 2 picofarads. I don't have a clue what 2 picofarads is, so I got her plenty long. This is 22 gauge wire. I think so. Yeah, 22 gauge wire here. So, here's what's happening here. As soon as I get it figured out again, I'll shut this off. This is my favorite here. I have to solve that problem. I don't know how I turned it on. Drop that. So obviously I have a lot of gain, a lot of power gain, and I didn't have the volume up on my tracer very loud either, so I have a lot of gain here, audio gain. So this gimmick thing, where's that going? Let me see. Okay, that's going to go right down here. Let me see. I get a light flashing here. That shielded cable right there. It's not the green one. The green one goes to this transformer here, but it's this green wire and shielded cable. It comes around here, right up here, right into, I gotta look around this, right into this pin right here, soldered directly into it, that greenish blue wire. Now on the schematic it shows the shielded cable towards this tube. Now if I follow around, it goes right into this pin, which is grid number 1 on the 6SK7. So I'm gonna disconnect that wire and solder that gimmick in here and move this out of the way and see if it gets rid of that oscillation, because it doesn't show that a complete wire from there, from that grid to I think that was a grid 2, also a grid number 1, not a grid 2, grid number 1. And I got to go through this stuff and make sure all this is legit. The 6H6, is this the 6? Yeah, I got to go through the 6H6, that's this one. Okay, the shielded cable hooks up to here, which is that 6S. Yeah, it's too hard to pull it out. This half of this is the VFO, and half of it is the first audit preamp to the 6K6. And this is going to be gone. It's not on the schematic. Somebody dabbed it in there. So I was hoping if I cut this out, it would give me power. I hope it's not this output transformer, especially because it has that 500 ohm thing. But I have all the instructions. The only thing I don't have is the voltages. But I snagged them, kind of, maybe. So here, it has that 470 ohm. I don't look at the microfarads, so I ain't concerned about that. I just snipped that out. Here's that 6SC7. So right here is where I hooked my signal tracer up to, where there's all kinds of gain. So then I'm interested in this automatic volume control thing. That's how, here it is right here. Going to that control grid, automatic gain control, volume control, whatever it is. So I have to make sure we don't have an open 2.2 meg or whatever. This must be one of those mica capacitors. I gotta snip all those out and make sure they're good. There's 2 domino capacitors up in the tuner area, 2 that are those foil, like wax capacitors. Snip both of those out. But I think when I was working with this I thought I lost my plate voltage, but I'm not sure right now. So I have to get this photocopied. I have it in my computer, but my ink is dried up. I don't use it much, so I have to do a lot of voltage checkings on this thing, and see what's up. It's going to be complicated, that's for sure. I don't know where to start. Well, first I have to get AM going. The converter, first IF, second IF, unless they're switched out somehow. It might only have one IF for AM. Maybe they could bypass some. I don't think they can with RF. That'll get in the way. So it probably has the converter, first IF, second IF, then your 6H6, and then your first IF. So I have to get this functioning to get a legit audio amp anyways. That'd be a first step. And then I don't know if this RF amp is involved in everything here. I try to follow stuff, but it's hard with my memory problems, so I forget everything really quick. So I will do get this printed out and draw a path through here wherever it's switched at, and see where it's getting from this plate to that. Grid number 2, I guess this one is the local oscillator. No, that's part of this thing. Let me see. That's grid number 1 here. Coils down here, yeah, coils, local, yeah, that stuff. So it's going to be a confusing thing here. This is the Orange Beginner's Corner, February, the hell was it? February 12th, I think. Tomorrow's Super Bowl, or Sunday's Super Bowl, I should say. I think it's Sunday. Super Bowl day 2022, where anything can happen, I guess. There's some predictions out there that things that could happen, and I don't know, crazy. Here's this. I know nothing about BFO. There's that again. The shielded cable is this side, so that's why I'll put that. I'm gonna take that. Okay, here it comes. It comes this way. So you got your grid. I think I have a 100K there. This is probably there. This is that long shielded cable. C38, it just said wire twisted together, I think. Yeah, my sleeve is stuck, so it goes all the way up to here. So I'm putting this red one to the grid, green one to the pre-existing center lead of that one right there. So I'm putting this here, but I don't know what 2 picofarads is, so I'll leave it, I'll cut it down somewhat. I'll take consideration the thickness of the insulation. This is what, number 22 gauge wire. But most of these I remember when I flash back when I was young, it was like real skinny insulation wire, so I might be totally wrong with this here, but it does show it here. So I may have a ceramic 2 picofarads. I bought a assortment, but I'd rather go with this. Let's look at I'll look real quick here. So here's the audio output. That's why I don't want to have to change out in case you ever want to run a speaker long distance and have a step down. But okay, this was C. I drew a line here. 38, I think it was. Because first time I was looking at it, I thought it was in the BFO oscillator. And then I looked it over better and I thought, oh geez, it's not. So that one. No part number. So this is a first step to stop that oscillation. Maybe. I wish I had the voltage. What's this? Maybe that's voltage. 235 volts, 6.3. Well, maybe. 140 DC 0.9, -2 DC DC. Well, I do have voltages. Okay, cool. Asterisk. AM continuous switched in. See how if I put it on CW continue wave, it'll just oscillate, and I'll probably get a crazy weird voltage there. But this thing only cost me like not very much. I think it was under $10 with shipping and handling. But I notice a lot of things in here. Resistor values are not the same. I don't want to sit there and change every resistor in this thing because I would think it left the factory in working condition. You'd think. Like I say, that's 270. I could see increasing that to run the tube cooler. That's that one right there, and it's nice and professionally soldered in. It runs in through the grounding of the tube socket and wiggles around in there. I think it covers two pins. Wait a minute. It runs into this pin too, whatever that is. Pin 8. Pin 8 and I don't know. I could have put this in. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I had this thing for about at least a half a year, and I had to put this 1 meg in here. It didn't work, so I measured this from here to there. That measured 4.3 meg. I removed it, put this one in. It worked to what it is right now. The 1 meg I removed still measured 1 meg, so it had to have been a connection. So I really have to check every one of these connections, because I know when I work on stuff, if I don't scrape the tube sockets, they don't solder very well, and somebody could have goobed solder over it to make it look good. So I might take the solder off of each and every one of these and scrape it with a screwdriver. I just usually use something like this. Older ones, or real small blade, and scrape them. Like if you want to add something in here, you just clean that up really good on both sides and try to get the inner. Otherwise, especially if you want to put the electrolytic down here, that whole thing have to be scraped if you wanted to solder a electrolytic in there and make it a true ground. Then you'd also have to have another solid cord leaving away from there to like pin 8. Was it 1 and 8 here? I think. But that's learn all that stuff, building amps, how to use tube sockets. So I have to go through all this stuff. This one here, I marked it to be replaced, but I really don't think it's a big deal. But here's these domino that are what, wax and foil. Wax and foil. This is a mica, but I might get silver micas to replace those. Up here